is basically the precursor to all dystopian books, um, depending on who you ask, called We by Yevgeny Zamyatin.
Hmm.
Um, I had just found that in Russia they made this a movie in 2021.
Wow, okay.
So I looked at the trailer. Don't know if it's good, but it has a lot of like the same imagery. So I like that.
Hmm.
But this one, you'll be able to see all the different things that relate to at least 1984 because George Orwell specifically said he took from this book.
Yes.
Um, and Huxley said he didn't, but
We don't
Orwell and
believe him,
others say like
right?
I probably took a little bit. So it was first released in 1922, I believe, but not in Russia. It wasn't released in Russia until 1988. And obviously because of well, anti-authoritarianism and some have apparently argued that it's like pro-religion, pro-theism. I don't necessarily get that. So basically, the whole point of this society is that it's very mathematical. So our main character is an engineer or a mathematician for the spaceship called Integral that they want to use to take people to different planets and then colonize and show how good their benefactor is. So instead of Big Brother, we have the benefactor. I don't know
Okay.
if there's anything necessarily. I don't know what the name would be in 1984, but they have the Guardians in this, which are kind of your police. They're the ones who watch over you. And especially since our main character is important, he pretty much always has one guardian watching over him. Um, and
Okay.
so,
So that might not be
yep,
specifically referenced in 1984, but we do get the idea that people are watching, and the Guardians are specifically
there's a secret
referenced.
police,
Yeah, the
and
Guardians are
yeah.
specifically referenced in the book I just reviewed and in Handmaid's Tale. So I think this book sounds like it influenced that whole genre.
Oh, it had to have. Um, it's really interesting to see like the government in this compared to 1984 because 1984 feels again more gritty, scarier. This one, everything is so controlled, whereas 1984
Hmm.
almost allows a little bit more freedom, but
Okay.
it allows more freedom, but it also has larger punishments if you use that freedom, I would say.
Right, okay. So it allows
So
the freedom, but you're not meant to be necessarily using it.
yeah, because in 1984, it's just like you go to work and then you go home, and I guess you can go to the pub if you want, or you can go for a picnic. There's some things that are allowed, but in this one, every minute of your day is basically scheduled, except for 2 hours where you're allowed some sort of freedom.
Okay.
So they talk about like I forget the table or something, the timetable. They almost worship it like the Bible. Like
Hmm.
that is their Bible. So you wake up 8 a.m. or whatever it is, everyone across the entire city wakes up at that time. And then you all brush your teeth at the same time. You all eat breakfast at the same time. You all get to work at the same time. And there's really no freedom except for like, I think 4 to 5, where you can do something if you need, or I think like 10 to
So
11 or 9 to 10.
not just freedom, but it sounds like there's also no individuality. Like it's almost a prison system. Like,
Well, talking about individuality, yeah, there are no names. They're numbers.
so that there we go.
So yeah, our main character is D503, and he's somewhat interested in this woman, 090, who was also shared with his best friend, R13. Of course, everyone's kind of open to everyone, but you still have to be registered with each other. But yeah, you really have no freedom or no individuality whatsoever. You're all wearing the same things. You all live in glass buildings with glass windows,
Wow.
and you're never allowed to put the blinds down unless you're having sex. So everyone can see you at all times.
And they know when you're having sex because that's the only time they can see you.
Yeah, yeah, basically. So that's the only time like you're allowed some sort of well, you're allowed to put the blinds down, some sort of privacy. So you would schedule a time to use a pink ticket. You put the blinds down, and you can have some sexy times. And you're not necessarily allowed to get. pregnant though. So 090 has a very specific situation that she's not allowed by the government to have a child
Okay.
because she doesn't fit the body type for it. She's a little bit shorter, plumper. They don't want those genes or something.
It's like a eugenics type situation.
Almost, almost. It's kind of a spoiler for later, but she and our main character have some like difficulties and realize that they're just not going to be able to be together. But she's like, "All right, just impregnate me.
Wow, okay.
I'll give the baby to the state, and they can do whatever they want with me." And then she realizes later, like, actually, I want to keep this baby.
Yeah, of course,
And
that's the worst idea, giving it to the state.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah,
Do
we'll get
not give
into like what
anything
happens
to
later.
the state.
No.
Do not render unto Caesar.
Well, yeah, fair enough. But it's a pretty interesting world. This takes place after a 200-year war, so to kind of set the scene for it, this is hundreds and hundreds of years in the future, somewhere between like 500 and 1,000 probably.
Oh, that much, right?
Um,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, because there's a 200-year war, and they talk about like this is couple hundred years after that 200-year war, so give or take might be like 800, something like that. Only 0.2% of the population survived, and they all live within this like one big city, or so they say, of course. And then within this city, they grow the population to still be, you can figure it out. They say at one point, 10 people were just killed because they fell asleep underneath like the engine for the spaceship. And so they just got incinerated,
Okay.
which is a bit odd. And then it's like, yeah, but nobody would care because that's just 1 100 millionth of the population. Like, so we have tens of billions of people in this society. What?
So
That
many
seems like a
people.
lot to take care of.
Yeah, I'm not
And
a
you're
fan
all,
of the current population levels.
but billion people in one city? Think about that.
Yeah.
And you have
It's
like a green wall around to kind of protect you from anything from the outside, of course. Um, and so I guess we'll get to the main plot point. He meets this woman who he just immediately becomes enthralled with, called I-330. One last thing about the names. So the men are consonants, but the women are vowels.
hmm
Hard versus soft type of like yeah, sexism type
sexism a
thing.
bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But she in the movie version I saw, she's in a like bright red dress because she's supposed to stick out. And like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like she plays the piano, she plays it their way because it's a mathematical type of music. And
Mm.
then she plays the old way, and everyone's like, "Ah, but the old way is terrible. We love this new way because it's
Wow.
so mathematical and beautiful." Our main character loves the mathematics as well. He writes poems about like shapes and how they form the universe and things like that. I'm like, okay, I kind of understand this, but what about creativity? But poems do still sort of exist. Like the best
Yeah.
friend reads poems at people's funerals. I don't know if that's a good thing.
I saw a contemporary dance performance this month, which was very mathematical. It was very mathematical, and every motion was done like oh, it was like they used different sequences of numbers. It was very difficult to find a rhythm whilst watching it, and a lot of people liked it, but I'm just like, no, this isn't for me. This it shouldn't be so mathematical. Now, what they did was very impressive and difficult. I'd rather have some a bit more looseness to it. It shouldn't be so mathematical. Just a bit more creativity and expression, I think, for me.
Oh, sure, sure. Um, but because they grow up in this structured environment, they find it to be more beautiful, I guess. So,
Yeah, if that's what your society tells you is good, then you'll like
hmm,
it, right? That's the way it is.
I guess, yeah. But so yeah, he gets to know this woman. She takes him to this like old museum, which is the only place that's like a regular house and doesn't have like glass walls and everything that you can
Hmm.
see everybody. Um, so yeah, they start getting to know each other. He falls in love with her, of course. Um, and it turns out she's part of like the resistance.
Of course. So
Yeah,
1984 just took that.
sort of. Yeah, except there really isn't a resistance in 1984. That was kind of faked.
It was kind of yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, yeah. They both dislike their society in that case. In this one, sorry. In this one, our main character actually likes his situation though. He doesn't want to change it. He believes everything the government tells him. He's
Is
someone
that
who,
worse?
well, he's been brainwashed and he's not someone who is going to be able to change. Like just falling in love was not necessarily enough. It got him to break a few things. Like he didn't report her like he was supposed to do.
Hmm.
So that's a big thing. He also started dreaming, which does not exist. So they
Ah,
basically say, like the doctor says, well, you have grown a soul, and that's a bad thing. And I'm like, okay, well, in 1984, he would have disappeared now.
that would be it.
But
Yeah.
that's it. That's it. In this one, it seems like he gets a lot of chances.
So this isn't
Um,
as harsh.
no, but we do see an execution at one point
Oh,
where like a guy is just liquefied, which is kind of interesting.
it's always
Um,
fun.
yep, yep. Um, so trying to think what else really to add. He really just enjoys his society, but he also wants to be with this woman. And it seems like he's doing it for the wrong reasons. What like I guess I'll skip quite a bit, but they end up with an election in the last third of the book.
hmm
Sorry. So, with this election, everyone in the city votes for the next benefactor. Do you want to keep the current one, or do you want to get rid of the others? Or do you want to get someone else? And of course, people vote for the benefactor, and then they ask for anyone who disagrees. And about 1,000 people raise their hands, which is the most that's ever happened.
Mm.
Um, and so there's chaos, and people start being taken and disappearing. And our main character sees 090, who has his child at this point, and she kind of disappears, but we don't really know where. And he sees I-330 and goes after I-330 because he's so in love with her.
Okay,
And
fair.
she's being helped by his friend R13 because
Mm.
he's also in on this type of thing. And then just steals her from him. He just wanted to be the
Ah,
big man just to take care of her, it seems like.
yeah, I don't like that.
It's not the best, but hey, I can't imagine like they teach well, much in this society. They kind of talk about school. Apparently it's just through a machine that you learn things. No actual teachers.
Mm.
But
So
yeah.
this
In
sounds
this
very influential. So
hmm,
let me ask you then, was it good?
I do think it was quite good. I'll say one more thing about the election. At the end of the election, they say it was still unanimous, which I think is pretty interesting. I like that they added that to it, even
Mm.
though they had the 1,000 dissenters that just disappeared or
They didn't
ran away.
count, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But um, there are a lot of very confusing bits. I saw someone else reviewing it earlier today, and I'm like, yeah, okay, so we both agree that there are some things when there's action, we just don't know what's going on.
Mm.
Like,
Okay.
where are we going? What's happening? I think there was one point when talks about like you have like a airplane type thing, people coming down on like ropes, and then nothing happened. I'm like, what, what, what is this? It happens a few times, and I'm not the biggest fan of that. I don't know if it's probably just the writing style, unless things were lost. I'm
Okay.
not about
Do you
that.
think that is because the writing style isn't good? Do you think it's like a lost in translation thing, maybe?
Um, the translation seems to be pretty accurate.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure. I
Hmm.
think, yeah, maybe it is the author. He just didn't know how to make it completely easy to follow
Hmm.
because there will be breaks in thoughts for this person, kind of like what you would get in Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah.
think about something, and then there would be a change to something else. Or you go into someone's like what they're actually doing to their thoughts of what might happen, and then go back into reality.
Sure.
Those types of things, there's a disconnect, and it takes a bit of talent to get them to work well. But yeah, all I'll say next is like there's a lot of chaos going on. The end up breaking part of the wall, and
Okay.
so we do end up seeing some outside of the wall before this. There are people out there in like animal hides and stuff.
Right.
That's where O90 is sent with her kid, so we know that she's basically safe. Everyone in the city is now basically being forced to get an operation. And the operation, I didn't believe it when I read it, but it's to be so okay. First off, they start with X-rays. They do like three X-rays to the brain just to, I guess, make you easy to control
Hmm.
or stupid or something. But then they also say like make you like a tractor, and I think they add wheels to you and something
Oh,
like
okay.
make you like a machine.
I might not know what's going on anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, right. Okay, I guess it's easier to control people if they are machines.
Was this also influential on Transformers?
Probably not. But yeah, I won't get into the ending. Um,
Sure.
but
The
I
PJ
can
rule.
definitely, yeah, yeah. But I will say, if you've read 1984, the ending is just as bleak.
Right, okay. Well then,
Yeah,
let me ask you two
yeah,
questions.
yeah,
So
yeah,
first, okay, that's number one.
yeah.
And number two, where does it rank then with the other dystopia books?
Two, I think.
Two.
Because it's not as easy to. It's hard to put it above Brave New World as well.
Hmm. But you
But I
would put it
do think
above
I have to.
1984.
I can't put it above 1984 because 1984 is it's one of those that is very well written. It's scary. It's very true, like
Hmm.
what is happening in it. This one influenced all of that to happen, but it has those disconnects in what is
Hmm.
occurring within the story that makes you confused about
Sure.
what's going on.
So it's three then. It's below both of those.
Mhm.
It's
Oh, I
below.
was saying, well, I was saying it. I think I still place it at two above Brave New World. I'm just
Oh,
saying
sorry, above Brave New World. Okay.
it's hard to place it above Brave New World.
Oh,
But I think I
but you did. There's me assuming you were taking the easy path there.
no, no, no. I think I have to. Um, Brave New World is a very important, interesting book. I think it's great for the dystopian genre, but I don't see it as a true dystopia, not like this one is still.
Fair, fair. Something we can do, not often, but we're going to do it as a one-off, just because you reviewed two dystopian books back to back. Is this one better, and in fact, much better than the previous one?
It is better than Fahrenheit 451. Yes.
Much better!
Okay.
That's why you had that queued. Okay.
Fantastic.